that sort of stuff?
So I grew up, no, I didn't grow up skiing. So I grew up in the western suburbs of Melbourne, and our family was a beach family. So we spent most of our time down in Lorne, which is normally where I would live in Australia. So I was involved in gymnastics and then stopped that at the age of about 15, 16, and was kind of looking for something else to do. I really enjoyed being an athlete and felt that that was kind of my strength. And then at about 17 years old, I'd had an opportunity with the Olympic Winter Institute, which they were kind of starting a pilot program of converting ex-gymnasts into aerial skiers. And so I was selected as one of their guinea pigs, and thought it sounded like a really good idea and a good
Had
opportunity.
you ever been to the snow before? Before that?
No, not at that
No.
stage. No. So definitely a non-skiing family. So yeah, so said yes to the opportunity, and I think for me it was more, the opportunity of being able to go to an Olympics, which is something I didn't achieve as a gymnast, um, and something that I really wanted to do. So I kind of said yes and just threw myself into it, literally. Um,
Mm.
And it kind of didn't take too long for, their little experiment to prove that it was working. I think I was with another teammate of mine, Liz Gardner, who was a ex-gymnast as well, and we took to skiing quite quickly. And they were, it was kind of that era where people believed you've got to be born on skis to be able to be a good skier, and which is total crap when you think about it. Unless someone is willing to learn something, um,
Mm. You
anyone
have
can
to put the
learn,
time in. Yeah.
put your time in, and you can learn. So
Mm.
we were put on an accelerated path to skiing, which was fabulous. We had, you know, oh, well, we started at Mount Buller, but it was a bit of a dreadful season that year of '99, and then we were shipped off to Whistler, and that was the first time I saw
Mm.
kind of these big, mountain ranges and so much snow. So we learnt with a range of, really top, national team coaches. So our progression was really fast through the sport. In particular, learning how to ski within one season, we were, already skiing quite well. And so then the next step was to start jumping the year after that. And I mean, it took me about 18 months and I was at my first Olympics. So the
Oh, wow.
transition was and
That's very quick. Yeah.
yeah, it was too quick. They don't do it. They don't push, well, they don't let people go through the program that quick anymore because it's
Okay.
a bit reckless. So
Yeah. And
too
so was
quick.
that like a few of you going to the Olympics together
So
that went?
so out of the two, it was just me that made those Olympics.
Okay.
And Liz made the next ones after that. Um, yeah, so my kind of progression in particular was a bit crazy quick, but I was achieving results already, and within my second year I was ranked number 2 in the world, so it was working. So
Mm.
that it was
Yeah.
proof that the recruitment idea was working, and so other countries started to follow suit as well and do the same thing. Um,
Hmm. And how did you go in those Olympics?
I made the final and came 8th, so that was quite
Yeah, right.
remarkable really,
Mm.
because no one even
Mm.
knew my name. Like I wasn't even on the show team for those Olympics. So the fact to
Yeah.
make an Olympic final
Mm.
after
Yeah.
18 months of doing the sport was unheard of, really, if you look
Mm.
back
Yeah.
now. So I was pretty banged up though, like I was taking some really big risks with my body, and it was a bit kind of Wild West back then. We didn't have as much, support as there is these days in terms of physical support and medical support, and so we were doing some things that probably weren't, that kind of, I had some injuries that really set me back just because we're going too fast. So yeah, it's the school of hard knocks kind of began there, and coming into the next Olympics, I was already a real favorite to win those Olympics in 2006 in Torino. And that's when my knee injuries started. So I got plagued with a couple of back-to-back ACL injuries, which was really trying, kind of really low point, I suppose, in my career, because I had a lot of motivation and I
So was
believe
that an injury at the Olympics? So did you get to the Olympics and get injured at the Olympics?
I injured it about 7 months before, so I blew my ACL
Okay.
7 months before. We had a bit of an experimental surgery, which hadn't been done a lot back then, which was allograft, so using a donor tissue for my ACL surgery so that I could recover quickly. So did all that. Yeah, it was kind of another experimental period. And
A guinea pig.
yeah, because we had no reference to go off, no one. So it was new for the physios, it was new for the surgeons, it was kind of new for me and the whole program. So I progressed fast. I was skiing within 8 weeks, which again was like unheard of, and made it all the way to the Olympics. And I did one World Cup. I kind of opted to train and not do too many, but I did one and I won it. So it was like, back to where I left off. And yeah, basically flew over to the Olympics and my knee just decided then that it was angry.
Oh, wow.
It blew up. And I was having a lot of trouble with it there. I was jumping really well still, but I was having a lot of trouble with my knee. And then semi-finals, one jump to go. I'd had like a near perfect first jump, and then second jump, all the waiting around in the cold, it was just getting, stiffer and stiffer, and landed a little bit backseat and ka-chow, big disaster that was. So I flew it again at the Olympics. So that was a 12-month period off after that, which I needed to just, after all of that, it was quite traumatic and just needed to get the surgery completed in a few different stages. So that was a multi kind of stage surgery and took, a whole 12 months off. And that's where I started, I created my first business, which was Body Ice. So I was, having to ice a lot and recover a lot. Obviously, cold therapy after surgery and injury was helping a lot with pain relief and swelling. So I couldn't really find a product that I liked that was easy to use and travel with, and that I could ice on the go and in between in the car and wherever I was. So I found that was a problem of mine and figured that a lot of other people had that same issue. So I decided to create a range of joint specific ice and heat packs that stayed cold and stayed in place.
Okay. Do you still have that business?
Yeah, so
Is that still operational? Yeah.
Yep, since 2007. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. Oh, 2006. Gosh, yeah. So so Body Ice, that was I guess a really positive kind of outcome from a nasty situation that I was in.
Yeah.
And then later continued to just kind of be that financial security as well for me, as I moved through, the athlete pathway and ups and downs of sponsorship and, all the uncertainties that kind of unfold along the way. So it meant having Body Ice there meant I didn't have to rely on those external kind of sponsorship deals and financial support. Meant that I had that flexibility to continue to progress as an athlete and had something else to focus on as well. Like I think it gave me a lot of balance in terms of, not just being that kind of tunnel vision athlete. I was running a business on the side, and for most of it I was by myself and just someone in dispatch. So there was a lot to learn along the way. And I mean, come the next Olympics, I remember I was sitting in the ice bath and I always needed something to distract me. So day of Olympic final, I was, punching out invoices in the ice bath. So it's always been there for me. As a great product, but also as a great distraction from some of the kind of things that I was going through, and yeah, it gave me a lot of balance and security, I suppose, and made me a bit more of a wholesome athlete. So that was that, and then came back from the knees and yeah, came back for 2010 Olympics and was in really, great form. I had that period of time off, which gave me an opportunity to create a business, but it also gave me an opportunity to really nurture my mindset, which was a bit fragile, I suppose, and build some really good tools there. So I engaged in a really good mental training coach, who was quite transformative for me. And I'm still in, contact today. So Jeffrey Hodges out of Queensland was, instrumental in helping me kind of get back and overcome the, trauma of injury and the fear associated with it, um, to become, who I kind of believed I could be. It's always interesting when you have, all of like these kind of goals and beliefs in your head and you haven't proved them yet. So it's it's you're tiptoeing, I guess, between being confident and then doubting yourself, I suppose, especially when you've gone through injury, and so he was really instrumental in just making me or helping me focus on who I was becoming rather than what had happened in the past, and not letting, the past kind of necessarily equal my future. So that was really instrumental, and came back really strong and doing, tricks and skills that I always believed I could do, and pushing the boundaries of my sport, and was doing really high quality triple somersaults. So that was coming into those Olympics, I was just in, it was almost in, couldn't put a foot wrong form, it was really, everything was complete. And I felt confident, and I felt like I was becoming that person and right where I deserved and wanted to be. So
because were you one of the first females doing triple somersault?
No, there'd been a few, but the I was the first that had started doing them at the quality of the men. So there was a kind of a gap between, the execution, I suppose, between men and women, and I'd say that I started to bridge that gap, and others have obviously followed in suit. And that was, doing harder skills to a higher quality. So so came away with a win, which was, great. It was perfect. It's what you want as an athlete. You want your dreams to unfold into reality. So it did.
Do you think a lot of that had to do with your coaching with Jeffrey?
Definitely, and I also changed my jumping coach as well. So I was working with a Swiss coach, Mish Roth, who was also really on board, because I had a lot of resistance, especially after 2 knee surgeries, and coaches and even administration didn't want me doing triple somersaults and didn't want me to take risks, but it kind of, I wanted to follow that path because that's what I wanted to do. So he was really supportive of that, and you need that someone in your corner that really buys into your plan and believes you no doubt that you can do it. So he was that kind of mix was really important for me, and also having then medical support, which was something we didn't have ongoing prior to 2006 Olympics. It was something we implemented permanently, for 2010 Olympics. So we always had traveling medical support, which, so important when you're doing a sport like that. It just prevents those little niggles from getting into really kind of nasty injuries. So, so there was, I mean, today those athletes don't have to worry about that. They're in good hands, which is good, because it was terrible to have to deal with things like that alone, and to self-manage, injuries. Yeah. Yeah, so I had a bit of time off after 2010 and my husband and I decided to start a family, which is kind of like being injured. Your body's going through
You're out. Yeah,
completely, you're
yeah,
out, so your body's
yeah.
going through a completely
Yeah.
transformative process.
Mm,
People obviously doubt whether you'll come back because I said I'm coming back. I'm just going to have a baby and I'll come back. And
mm,
people are like, yeah, well, let's just see, when you have the baby and if you can come
mm,
back and if you want to, which is fair. It's a fair call. You
mm.
never know
Yeah.
how you
Yeah.
feel. But for me, I just felt like it was going back to work, like, do you tell a
Yeah.
mum before she goes on maternity leave, like, oh, we'll just see if
Mm,
you're motivated to come back to work. You might, it might change. And so for me, it just was like, of course I'm going to come back. If I say I'm going to come back, if
mm.
I want to, then
Yeah.
that means I will. So
And
just,
how old were you at that time?
I was 28. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Still pretty young.
yeah, yeah. So
Mm,
yeah, if in these days, yes, yeah.
mm,
I think I had in the back of my mind that like my mum had had 4 kids before she was 30, so
mm.
which is, kind of unheard of these days. So
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I just kind of felt like it was the right time. And it was, yeah, I
Yeah.
wouldn't change
Yeah.
a thing, obviously. So, um, yeah, so that added another dimension, I suppose, to being an athlete. There weren't any people that I could kind of look to. There was no one at that point in time.
Mm,
These days, there's so many more female athletes having babies and making
mm.
a
Yeah,
return,
with families.
so whether that's they're having them themselves or through surrogacy or through other means. It's but yeah, there wasn't really anyone I could talk to about that experience at all. So again, uncharted territory, very not experimental, but there were a lot of unknowns on what it would feel like, what my body would be like,
Mm,
whether it would be able to take the same kind of impact, what were the changes, would I, yeah, want to return? And
mm,
so I had a really good team of physical trainers and physiotherapists that just helped me navigate that. And our administration, the Olympic Wind Institute, was so supportive. They really stuck by me and yeah, and just supported me, and
mm.
support team was a bit different. Like it was before a coach, a mental training coach, and and maybe a physio. Now it was also someone that could
Mm.
help me look after Kai, who was just a little baby. So flying, my
Yeah, okay.
my mum traveled a lot with me, and my husband when he could as well. So it was a bit of a different support structure, but look, I was back in the gym 2 weeks after Kai, which is crazy
Mm.
when you think about it, and
Mm.
came back. Like body came back,
Mm.
body didn't forget, what to do, and it was just, you
Yeah.
take precautions obviously, and
And I
retrain.
suppose being so young as well, 28,
Yeah, and
body
just
still
all
bounce
the
back.
retraining your body and pelvic
Yeah.
floor and doing that in a
Mm.
systematic way. It was kind of not that much of a big deal. It was just back to normal.
Yeah. And probably coming from a really fit, being really fit before
Yeah,
you're pregnant anyway, and probably during your pregnancy, I'm sure you maintained
yeah,
a
no, I
level of
trained
fitness.
all the way through pregnancy. I
Mm.
trained to, a safe level that I could. Um and so yeah, so it wasn't a really big deal coming back. Obviously it's an adjustment, with a baby, but yeah, my trainer and I was training at the Victorian Institute of Sport then, and Harry Brennan, my strength trainer, would be, rocking Kai in the pram. If he'd start to kind of, cry or something, I'd have to go out and feed and, and
Mm.
change and do all those things in the toilets basically because there was nowhere
Mm.
else to go.
Yeah.
Uh, but we managed, and we kind of figured things out. So, yeah, on the run. Um, and just yeah, just having that support was crucial, I suppose, at that time. And my body like did have, you know, issues. I did have some issues coming back with my back and pelvis that kind of weren't picked up on, and you know, we eventually got on top of those and addressed those as well. But yeah, your body does go through some changes, and then when you hit it with some impact, of course there's going to be some adjustments and things to look out for. But yeah, so yeah, I had that year off obviously, and then started to come back slowly for the 2012 season. And that's, yeah, I did struggle a little bit physically with my back that season. Struggled a lot actually. And then I discovered yoga, which coming back from that season, I had two bulging discs in my back, and it was pretty bad. So my options really were to stop or get my my nerve permanently singed, or and then my mental training coach said, go and see my yoga man Duncan. He'll, you know, you've got nothing to lose, go and see him. I'm like, okay, I'll go and see him. And there begins another journey. It's yeah, that was another transformative moment, I suppose. And within 2 sessions, I was like already 50% pain free. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Like, I've done yoga before, but it was one-on-one, and he's like a magician, and very experienced and just amazing at what he does. So so I committed to it was working. So I saw him every day for 5 days a week from 6 to 8 a.m. For 6 months until I was fully rehabilitated. And then I went back to training, and I was sorted, you know, without having to retire or go through any surgery or anything else.
Surgery, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, I had my sequences that I could manage that injury with, so, and still do, you know, today. So got back for the 2014 Olympics, and
Your fourth Olympics?
my fourth, and was trying, you know, I had quite a bit on my plate. I was a new mum, and at that time I had a film crew following me around. They were filming my documentary called The Will to Fly. I had obviously, yeah, Kai in tow, and then I was trying to defend my Olympic title. So I was trying to do a new trick that no women had done before, which was the quad twisting triple somersault. So that was kind of on my radar as my next goal. Like, of course, I wanted to win the Olympics again. That would have been nice. But when it came to the moment of deciding that, I decided to push the boundaries and do something I hadn't done. So in the finals of those Olympics, I went for it. I didn't land it cleanly, so I came away with a bronze, but still
That's still pretty
achieved another
impressive.
milestone of mine. Yeah. Yeah, it is impressive, because when I think about what I had on my plate at the time, I didn't really realize, because you're just kind of going through the motions. But I mean, I was running a business. I had a 2-year-old. I was, you know, and an elite athlete, you know. So yeah, hard enough just being a mum, I think, these days.
And then yeah, still recovering from those injuries as well.
Yeah. So when I think about it now, I'm like, wow, I really took on a lot. And I'm even impressed with that.
You must be a very driven person.
Yeah, I think once I know where I'm going and what I want, then I really am. I struggle sometimes, even in business now, you know, like I don't have the clarity around the goals that I really want as I did as an athlete. So it's really easy to see where you can just kind of, your motivation can wane. But as an athlete, I knew exactly what I wanted. And so I was always highly motivated, even though it was difficult and hard and at times painful and frustrating and traumatic. Yeah, I knew what I wanted. So yeah, I mean, and coming away with another Olympic medal, you know, it's not easy to do it at the best of times. So to have two I really treasure that now, because they're not easy to win. Which I experienced at my final Olympics at Pyeongchang, which I was in really good form. I'd taken a step back from doing triple somersaults, but still doing double somersaults at a quality that could easily win medals. So, and by that stage, I had 2 children. So I had another one after Sochi 2014 Olympics. So I hadn't had a lot of time to prepare, but so that's why I decided to just do double somersaults, and yeah, had wins that season. Got to those Olympics, didn't crash a single jump, was in really good form right until I needed to pull it off. And that was in the semi-finals, and 2 jumps and neither of them skied away, and that was the end of it. So
Okay. Yeah.
that was a bit of a downer because everything was going well, and just sometimes you're in it and you just need, it just goes to show you, like, you just you know, there's so many things that need to align even on the day, you know.
Yeah.
For me, it just didn't work out. So that made
Yeah.
me really appreciative of the good performances that I had in the past, and those medals
Yeah.
that are sitting dusty in a drawer somewhere. that you know, they're not easy to win. So I really
Yeah,
appreciate
exactly.
them. Yeah. And
And
that's
so was that your last competition? Like going into that Olympics, did you know that you were going to retire after that?
yeah, and I was ready. Yeah. And I think that was really great because I had a business already, obviously. I had something else to kind of fall back on, but I also had a family and other priorities. So I felt like I was ready and transitioned at the time that was appropriate for me. I'd had enough, and wasn't I didn't want to do it anymore. And that's just it. And I've been really comfortable with that decision. So I
Yeah.
had no
Yeah.
regrets, and would have been, it's always nice to finish on a high, but you can't have everything sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. So I suppose you're not like one of those athletes that kind of didn't know what to do
No,
once they
so
retired because you had so many things
correct.
going on.
Yeah. And after those Olympics, I was still practicing yoga. So I was really, inspired by yoga. So I started a new brand called Zone, which, well, here you go, Zone, which is it's
Yeah. So how long ago did you start that?
2020 it launched.
Oh,
So
it was 2020.
started developing ideas for after those Olympics, and really wanted to do something in the yoga space because I love yoga and it gave me so much. Extended my career by 2 Olympics. So and it wouldn't have been possible without yoga. And it just made me a much more balanced person. So I think as we evolve as people, like my priorities and having children and seeing the state of the world and the waste and the pollution and our unsustainable kind of methods of living, I wanted to do something that really embraced the kind of yogic lifestyle, and that's people, yogic lifestyle really cares about the environment and should be in coexisting with it, not disrupting it. So Zone focuses on finding your zone, being in the zone space that we all love. And I was fortunate to experience many times as an athlete, and to, in a sustainable way, to encourage people to get on the mat and practice yoga in a sustainable way. So so that was the kind of lead up into Zone, and now
Yeah, and so it's all made from hemp. Is that
yeah
100% hemp?
our clothing is
Must be.
hemp on organic cotton. Hemp, 100% hemp is more of a linen product. So
Okay.
you've got to kind of blend it with, we blend it with organic cotton. And we have cork yoga mats and cork props and and that's essentially our range, and some essential oils as well. So so that's kind of still in infancy. It's still being developed. It's evolving, and sometimes I don't have clarity on where I want it to go. So, which is frustrating. But
So is that mostly like an Australian-based business? Like, is it, or is
yeah.
it just international, I suppose, with everything
Oh, it's
online?
international. Yeah. We ship all
Yeah.
worldwide, but we focus on
Yeah.
Australia. But it's a really interesting space to, challenge the norms of textile industry and to challenge the waste and to make people realize that there are much more sustainable options available that are better for us as well as the environment.
Yeah. Yeah, well, there's so many clothes that are made out of plastic now, and people wearing
Plastic.
plastic bottles, and you just think it can't be good for you.
No,
Yeah,
it's not.
breathe, or skin can't breathe. The
Yeah.
largest organ in your body.
Yeah, no, it's not, I can't see any benefit in wearing plastic. Not to mention all the, because then it becomes more of a problematic for microplastics because with every wash cycle you're washing out microplastics. So yeah, so it doesn't make much sense to me, and I think it's a bit of a cop out for, you know, the major issues, which are Coca-Cola producing plastic bottles, you know,
Yeah.
and irresponsible one-use items like that, which I think if we start recycling all these things and making them into clothing and whatnot, it's not going to stop them from changing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
yeah, so I'm really passionate about finding solutions in that space, and challenging, you know, the industry in general, like the fast fashion industry especially, is just like there's just so much that we don't need, you know, and trying to encourage people to buy less and stop the need for that shiny new thing with the tags on it. Like
every couple of months, I suppose it's a new
yeah.
season, isn't it? There's new
Oh,
designs
yeah,
and everything else.
yeah. So why do we need it? Because if you can't stop that urge for something new, then that fast fashion kind of industry will continue as it is, you know. So it's encouraging people to shop for better materials and challenge the greenwashing, you know, where things are made from recycled plastic. Well, is that good? Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe put it in our roads and you know,
Yeah.
barriers and
Weren't
insulation.
they making park benches or something out of it?
Sure, do that.
Stage?
Things that are
Yeah.
going to stay there for a long time. But to wear it, no, thank you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so that's an evolving process. So yeah, we're living over here now in Lapland. That was a bit of a COVID change and a shift. So it's again a challenge to run a business from a different time zone. Have a good team based in Australia, and we managed to get it done. So yeah, so it's interesting. And all right. So Survivor.
So are you close to a ski resort there where you are now?
We live in a ski resort. Yeah.
Are
So
you in a ski resort? Yeah.
yeah. So Levy
And
ski.
how often are you skiing?
Yeah, a few times a week. Yeah, definitely. Especially if there's a bit of snow fall.
Yeah.
I try and get out, but I also cross country ski. I really enjoy that, which is something I never had done when I was competing, but I've just like I love it. I love it. Because you know, it's a long winter here. It starts snowing in October and finishes up in May. So it's a really long time for snow on the ground. And you know, so cross country is kind of great thing just to get out for a run, like just to get that cardio fitness going. And yeah, love it. And then then skiing as well, and even touring. I love touring as well. So yeah, no, I'm enjoying it here. I do miss surfing. I love surfing. So that's I'm off to Portugal next, or in a few days to go
Oh, okay. Yeah, right.
surfing. Yeah, and get my fix.
So you were back in Australia recently. Were you surfing then?
Yep.
Yeah.
Any chance I get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that just for a family visit or
No, I had a
sort of
bunch of
business trip?
I had a bunch of things that I needed to kind of do. So I try and just kind of clump everything in at once. Yeah.
And where's your stuff made? The
It's
zone
all made
stuff?
in China. Yeah. Yeah. No one's spinning hemp fiber in Australia yet.
Okay.
Not even growing it for textiles. So, well, I think there's some now starting to grow for textiles, but they're exporting it and then it's getting spun and brought back as fabric. But there's no Australian made fabric. So to make things in Australia and it's just difficult. You've got to get the fabric in anyway.
Yeah.
You've got to import fabric
That's
in.
all added costs as well, isn't it?
It is,
Makes
and
it
so you may as
more
well
expensive.
make it there.
Yeah.
And I did try, but it would mean that I'd have to sell a hoodie for $300, you know, if I was
Yeah.
going to actually make anything from it. So it's not
Yeah.
until that changes, can't really justify it for the
Yeah.
consumer or for us. So yeah,
Mm.
it's interesting. It'd be lovely to make things in Australia, but I don't come from a textile background, and have zero seamstress skills. So all I can pretty much do is use a tape measure, and that's about it.
Design them. And
There's
are there many competitors in the hemp
not
market?
as such yet, but I'm
I think.
pretty sure that will change. Yeah, which is good. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
whole point. And if that means that I'm kind of squeezed out of the market, it's probably okay
It's a
with
good
that.
thing. Good thing
Yeah.
for the planet.
Yeah. Which, I 100% believe in it. I think I started this is because I was like, why isn't anyone using hemp? We should be using it everywhere, because of its environmental properties as a plant, and its ability to sequester carbon and feed you and clothe you and build items. You can do anything with it. So
Yeah.
it's
So
just,
why isn't it being used much?
well,
Did you find
it was
any answers to that?
yeah, it's crazy. The history of hemp is nuts. It's an ancient textile. It was the first textile to be used, 10,000 years ago. And prior to the cotton and synthetics industry, it was the main choice of material to use. So then, yeah, big business came into play, cotton, synthetics, and they ran a smear campaign that essentially associated industrial hemp with its, its cousin, marijuana. They're both cannabis plants, but obviously
Yeah.
one has high THC levels, which is marijuana, and the other one doesn't. And so they conducted this smear campaign to drive hemp out of the market so that they could go full throttle with cotton and synthetics. So crazy.
Yeah, and that's because hemp's such a long-lasting fabric. They're not making money out of it.
Well, they could
So,
make more money out of synthetics, which they can pump
yeah,
out easier and quicker.
yeah,
And then,
don't
of
last.
course, cotton, which they started just spraying the crap out of and using pesticides and all of the problems that associated after that with, soil quality, excessive water for processing and growing. And yeah, so it's crazy. So there was a ban on growing industrial hemp as well. It started in the 20s and 30s. So it only lifted 70 years later. So we've had, decades of
That's,
using hemp
is that in Australia or is that
worldwide.
international?
Yeah.
Okay, so just a worldwide ban.
Yeah. So you need a license. Well, you needed a license to be able to produce it. But those kind of bans, those hard bans are lifted and it's much easier. You still need a license, but it's much easier now for growers to grow industrial hemp, and it's being used. You'll see it everywhere now on the supermarket shelves. It's
Yeah,
plant protein, and it's being,
medicinally as well. See it
yeah,
a
the
lot more.
CBD oil. Yeah. So it's a strange history for a product that was used a lot prior to that ban, and a plant that has so many environmental benefits. Yeah, it's one of those kind of,
Yeah, it makes the mind boggle, doesn't it?
it's like, how could you
People
let that happen? Yeah.
make decisions about
Yeah.
things, right?
And so it's coming back now with a vengeance, which is great.
Yeah.
And they've used hemp in places like Chernobyl to suck the toxins out of the soil and regenerate it. Like, it's just got incredible soil regenerative properties. It grows up really fast. It's got a really short growth cycle of 90 days. So compared to that to a tree, and
Yeah.
a canopy is so voluminous that it can really, that's why it can sequester so much carbon. So feeds it back into the soil. So yeah, it's just like those were just, for me, it was like mind-boggling. And I'm like, I need to do something. What can I do? All right, I'll make clothing. Make clothing before
Yeah.
we need to use this product.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
need to use this plant and we need to drive demand for it. So that's
Mm.
kind of inspiration behind the clothing range, not fashion driven at all,
Yeah.
but more like, let's do something with hemp because it's
And
important.
so do you think you'll expand the range then to
Yeah,
other
so I'm currently expanding
items?
the range, not in a massive way. Like I just want to keep it core, comfortable, basics that every day you need. Because as I said, it's not fashion. It's just slower fashion that and comfy everyday clothing that people need. So
Yeah.
that's what it started out as and what it will always be. And we're not releasing things on seasons or trends. It's kind of all year basics that you need for all
Essentials.
essentials. Yeah. And yeah, our cork yoga mats and blocks and props, I really enjoy designing and developing those as well. Cork is again another really great sustainable renewable material source. So there's not many kind of trees that you can harvest without actually harvest things from them without actually having other than food, which without cutting them down. So cork bark is an amazing material to use. It's got really great properties.
Oh, it's a bark, is it? Never actually really knew where
Yeah,
cork came from.
people don't realize it's just
Yeah.
harvesting the bark. The trees stays in place. So yeah, which I think's again, like it's just amazing, and cork trees grow in really dry, kind of arid places, so they don't need a lot of water either. They've got a really good water system. So
And so once you harvest the bark, does it regrow
yeah,
back?
regenerates.
Tree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, I'm like, why are we using plastic and foam for yoga mats? Like, like can't think of anything more disgusting and toxic and
Yeah.
smelly.
Yeah.
And cork's a really nice material to practice on. It's got a nice give to it. It's got a nice feel. When you put water on cork, so any kind of moisture, it's like sweat. It actually gets grippier. There's like a substance in it called suberin, which when moisture hits cork, suberin is released, and it's like this waxy kind of substance that makes the surface grippier. So it's just like perfect material. Yeah. For a yoga mat. So that's why I really, wanted to use cork it's a mixture of cork and natural rubber on bottom to just start to eliminate and try to sway people away from some of the really other irresponsible kind of materials that are being used.
Yeah, because I'm sure that would probably almost kind of biodegrade or something as well, would it, cork?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, gets returned just as, and so does rubber. So both natural materials biodegrade. Yeah, there's no kind of trace of microplastics left or anything like that.
Or any chance of microplastics entering your body.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Correct. Yeah.
All right, and then so with Survivor, was it 2 episodes you did with Survivor?
Yeah, I did too. Yeah, I did the first ones, which were straight after my last Olympics in Pyeongchang.
Okay.
Well, not too long after that. So that was kind of like also a nice transition out of sport into a new challenge.
Yeah. What made you want to do that?
I've just always loved the show. Like I was never a super fan, but I've always really admired the show and enjoyed watching it. And so I was asked to be a part of it. I didn't kind of apply for it. And then it just sounded like a lot of fun. So I did that. It was a great experience. Yeah, I mean, and you know, just the relationships that you do make, they're really long lasting and really good friends from that. But yeah, just to live simply and without electronic devices and to leave all that behind with no contact to the outer world is a crazy experience. And I'm glad.
Yeah. How long did you survive for? Oh,
Um,
you got to the end, didn't you?
no, I got,
No?
I was a bit of a
Near
physical
the end.
kind of target, so I
Oh, okay.
got blindsided at about 32 days in my first attempt,
32 days.
and just over 2 weeks in my next attempt. So
Oh, really?
yeah, so I was kind of there's unfortunately there's also a little bit of luck involved in that game in terms of drawing if you swapped or things like that, and yeah, the game is quite intense. So, but I really enjoyed it. Like it's a really cool experience. I'd probably do it
Yeah.
again, just because it's so cool and so unique.
Yeah. So it wasn't too difficult just being out there without much
It
food
is
or
it's really
shelter.
difficult, but at the
Oh,
same
it is, yeah.
time, really good, like it's
Yeah.
a great experience. It's hard, but it's yeah, it's just so unique. Like I think everyone should have like a survival
Yeah.
month every year where they just go off grid. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it really makes you appreciate what you have in your life and the
The basics.
experiences
Yeah.
that you have, like just turning on your coffee machine, turning on the
Mm.
microwave and sleeping in the bed, covers, so it's just like I
Yeah.
think it's a really good reset for
Mm.
you're kind of restructuring your priorities in life, and I think what I
Mm.
got out of it was the most important thing is your connection, with people and place, and you don't really have
Mm.
anything if you don't have connection to people and love. So um yeah, so it was a really interesting experience, and the challenges are amazing, and it's just they're wild, and yeah, really fun. But yeah, and the
Mm.
connections and relationships that you make there are really quite intense because you are
Mm.
in this intense kind of situation. So even though you've
Yeah.
maybe only known someone for 2 weeks, you know them really well by the time
Mm.
you
Yeah.
kind of leave, and so yeah, so made some, and then there's people where you never want to see again, obviously, because you've got this melting pot of
You see
personalities,
too much of them. Yeah.
or you don't have any
Don't
connection,
get on
or
with them. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
just there's nothing there. So um
Yeah.
but yeah, the ones that you do make connections with are really long lasting and really good friendships. So I think that's something else that, has really been positive coming out of it.
Mm. Yeah. And are you aware of like all the cameramen and all that around, like being filmed?
Yeah, you are. Yeah,
Like
obviously
they're
you
pretty
are.
obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've got to play that game. It's obviously
Mm.
it's a TV show, but
Mm.
and it's all a game, but it's at the same time it's
Mm.
really real. So it's quite a bizarre experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, I mean, yeah, as an athlete, I had, cameras in your face all the time,
Mm.
following around. So for me, it wasn't a big deal. It was just I'd learned many, you know, I think strategies on how to not have them as a distraction over the years as an athlete, like you can't kind of be thinking, oh,
Mm.
camera's in my face before you're about to go into
Mm.
a jump or whatever. So
Yeah. Yeah.
so I was kind of like, yeah, it's camera.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
and pretty kind of, yeah, part of the furniture kind of thing,
Mm.
nonchalant about them.
Blend in with the trees.
Yeah, very
Mm.
much
The
so.
scenery.
Cool.
I think there's only one other thing. Award you received recently, was that the
Yeah, yep. So just
the Olympic Institute?
no, that was the Australia Hall of Fame. So inducted into the
Oh,
sport.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, which is a nice privilege. So I did come back for that. Um, yeah, that was lovely. Yeah, I mean, you don't really do sport or participate to kind of be recognized, 10 years after or 5 years
yeah.
after. It's just, you know, that so that when these things happen, it's quite a nice little surprise and nice to be recognized in that way and I guess remembered, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
I suppose to you that life, does that feel a long time ago?
yeah, it really does.
Complete different
Yeah.
world.
Yep, it does now. Like it feels like just another book. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not even another chapter.
Yeah.
Like that book's
Mm.
been completed ages ago.
Whole new volume.
Yeah, it was written a while ago.
Mm.
But at the same time, really nice to reflect on. So it was a good moment for me to reflect on my career and you know, and looking back at especially those last couple of Olympics competing as a mum, you know, and the significance of that because that was actually really hard to do. So
Yeah.
I appreciate that more now.
Yeah. And do you still commentate for the Olympics and things like that? For the
Yeah,
aerials? Or
still,
did you do that
yeah,
the last one? Yeah.
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 So hopefully I'll get another opportunity come Milan Cortina. That would be really lovely. I really enjoy, you know, dipping in and out of television. I don't think that's my full-time job, but it's nice to be
Yeah.
especially in things that I'm passionate about, like
Yeah.
Olympics. So it's a dream job actually. So yeah, no, looking hopefully to be involved. We'll see.
Yeah. Not long to go.
No, not long at all. All right.
All right. Well, that's everything. Thanks for your time.
No problem.
To get back on with your day. You've got a very impressive story. Got lots to tell.
Thanks. No, it's
You've done a lot. Yeah.
be continued.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, to be continued. Yeah. Look forward to seeing the next chapter, the next volume.
Exactly.